For most of the war, 75 to 80% of the Wehrmacht had to be deployed in the east, a preponderance dictated by the sheer size of the front, and 80% of German war dead perished there, about 4 million of the 5 million German soldiers killed in World War II. So I figured it was probably a good idea to show you some actual high-level Steel Division 2 play, instead of just me flailing around with divisions I don't really understand. And so today we're on a map that I don't know the name of, and this was played as part of the SDL monthly tournament for Steel Division 2, or the monthly tournament equivalent. So we've got two players here. This guy, Heigen, Rita, Kaids, whatever. This is Mr Ghosty, who's the best Steel Division 2 player of all time, apparently. I don't really play this game. And he's like the third best Red Dragon player after Razman and George S. Patton. And he's playing on the Soviet Union team as 3rd Armoured, 3rd US Armoured, which you'll know from Wargame. From Wano even. Obviously the units are a bit different. But yeah, it's US 3rd Armoured. And he's up against SteppeKnight, who's playing as the 44YA. And yeah, they're on a map that I don't know the name of, so we could talk about the deployment. Not sure how much analysis I can do here. Let's start with Mr. Ghosty. And basically, on this map, from the 2 or 3 times I've played it, whoever takes this hill has a really good time on this side of the map because of the LOS. So if blue takes this hill, then red can't reinforce from his main road, so his only reinforce is this road down here. If red takes it, same story really, so blue can't reinforce down this road, so he has to path guys around here. So yeah, this hill is very important. And then for the town, the few times that I've played it, the town always just turns into a mess with loads of artillery. And generally off-map artillery used to feature very heavily on this town. I don't know whether or not that's still meta. In regards to the divisional strengths, I have no idea. And the incomes, both players are on Maverick income, so you get your most points in the middle of the game, and you get less at the end. So that's a very meta thing from what I remember. I don't know if they've changed that. So we got a Mr. Ghosty here going with a flamethrower team and some arm rifles, arm LMG rifles, etc. Basically loads of infantry units and this little command tank, command light tank. That's like I thought it was called an M3 Lee, but this appears to be calling itself an M5. I don't know if that's an upgraded M3 Lee or if it's really just a different tank. Quality analysis as always, and yeah, they're all going over here somewhere. And he's got this AA piece with it as well, so this is just, 250 cals and 37mm, but trust me, that's enough in this game to suppress a plane and drive it off. And then for the middle, he's got an M8 Scott, which is another little dinky tank. This is sort of more of an assault gun, really, because it's got this nice big howitzer on it. Basically, in this game, if you buy heavy tanks, you're an idiot. Because of the RNG involved, it's just not worth buying a heavy tank. There's lots of RNG in this game, a bit more than Wano. And then he's got a couple 50 cals, another flamethrower team, bit of recon. And they're all going to the middle. And on the right side, so it's basically these 3 groups, there's not really much between them. Sort of the same thing every time. A light tank of some description, some infantry in half tracks. So I believe from my limited knowledge of this game, 3rd Armoured's a real pain in the arse to play against because all their guys come in these half tracks which get 50 cals. Which are really good in the open against infantry, so you can stop infantry pushes quite easily with these half tracks. And there's no ATGMs in this game, right? There's no long range infantry AT, so it's quite difficult to deal with these half tracks unless you've got a light tank. Obviously, heavy tanks will work too. And yeah, he's unloading his blob over there, and then driving all his 50 cals into this location here. Is that a good idea? I have no idea. Apparently, he's the best player in the known universe. Looking at SteppeKnight here, he's got a recon plane out at the start. You get recon planes in this game. I'm surprised that's not in Wano because they are real in the time frame, but it is what it is. And he's just queued that across the map over and over and over and over again. It's also a fighter. It's really quite effective for 50 points. And yeah, going left to right, he's opted to bring a mortar on a motorbike. Although once it unloads, the motorbike will disappear. You can also get mortars that are actually on motorbikes, and they will drive around on the motorbikes. And generally, openers in this game revolve around... right, so with Wano, there's two classes of road speed, right? The wheeled and the tracked road speeds. In this game, it's a bit different. There are more classes. So motorbikes will... and motorbikes and jeeps, like this jeep goes 95 kilometers an hour. Even if it's towing a 45mm, it will go 95 kilometers an hour. And then, these motorcycles will go 90. These trucks will go 70. But then something like this, this Ford GPA is one of the fastest units in the game. It goes 100 kilometers an hour, and it's amphibious. I'm not sure what makes it so fast. I'm sure some World War II boffin can tell me why it's wrong. So he's opened mortar, and he's got an anti-tank gun going here as well. You see he's unloaded so that he can look down the road. Presumably, because of how fast this vehicle's going, with the time it unloads, he might actually be able to shoot some guys coming down this road. If people are coming down this road, keep in mind these half tracks are going to be a bit slower. And then yeah, some recon, which we can't view. We can only view the transport, it seems. There's no way to view the guy inside the transport. Really good game, by the way. And then, yeah, another way of doing things is you get these PTRS 41s, which I can't show you the stats on because they're in the vehicle. I'm not sure if there's a way to fix that in the options. Let me know. And because they're so fast, you can get them somewhere, and then you can shoot somebody with your anti-tank rifle, shoot a transport, and that used to kill the entire squad inside the transport. I don't think it does anymore. So he's opening with a lot of fast stuff on the left, and then just a couple regular infantry with DPs. Right, so sorry about that technical error. So yeah, that does it for the deployment on the far left. In the middle, we got another, an SG-43, which is some form of, I really don't know a lot about this game, so my casts aren't going to be too on point. But basically, our guy SteppeKnight here is going for a more aggressive attack. He's actually attacking the red hill here, whereas Mr Ghosty is just trying to defend. And the blue team, SteppeKnight's guys seem more numerous, but these anti-tank teams are not very big, right? So there's really only one full squad going to this. And then on the right, sort of the same story. Loads of light crap, again, going all over the place. A T-34 76. These things are pretty good from what I remember. And yeah, medium tanks are just the name of the game in competitive in Steel Division 2, because this is 60 points, whereas a Panther will cost you 150, and we'll just die to some RNG nonsense, basically. Whereas if this dies to some RNG nonsense, it's not the end of the world. Bit of infantry behind that. Wow, amazing analysis. I'll cast it from Mr Ghosty's perspective because I love Mr Ghosty, and we'll get on with the game. Right, so they're off, and you see that this thing has a stabilizer on it. It can shoot while moving. You might say, well, where do I see the stabilizer value? Where do I see that it even has a stabilizer? Because a lot of things in this time period don't. The answer is you don't. You don't see any of that. You don't see its health bar. You don't see its max health. That's just the game. Just get good. One hell of a game, Steel Division 2, one hell of a game. But yeah, this thing's still in the air, but you see that even the half-tracks can shoot at the planes, and the tanks can also shoot at the planes. I guess they're pretty low-flying aircraft. Kind of difficult to pay attention to everything here. But we see that on the right, SteppeKnight's managed to unload this thing, as we spoke about, but it did miss. Okay, I guess it hit the second one. You see that some guys did actually survive that. So these light anti-tank things, good for killing off those half-tracks. Seems like it's going Blue's way over there. In the middle, I feel like Red has the advantage. These guys are about to unload. This thing's been retreated due to the sheer volume of half-tracks and crap. And this T-34 is going to have to kill all these half-tracks. Thing is, these guys do bring bazookas. The bazooka range is very low. You can't see it by looking at the loss tool, but basically the units... So you know in Warno you see like a field that's 100 meters and the game just tells you it's 500. In this, that scaling factor is lower, so 100 and... what is this? 250 meters is actually a lot more in this than it is in Warno. Just something to keep in mind. You see these guys, they get the PTRD. There's some serious blobbing going on here. So this mortar's going to start shooting, presumably. Yep, there it goes. Has a much nicer arc than it does in Warno, so you see that it very quickly can start suppressing all these guys, although SteppeKnight's been forced to fall back, so it seems that Red's going to take this hill. So we'll check in on that later. Over here, Blue did manage to get up here. Will that 45mm hit that? It will. But yeah, these 50 cals will stop any further advance, although he is in there. It's 12-12 on the flags. Basically, this game works through like a pseudo frontline system, so you get this dumbass frontline. I mean, look at that. That's, yep, that makes sense. But then it only counts when you take a flag with the front line. It's a really dumb system. Steel Division 1 did it better, so it would just do it on how much of the map as a percentage is covered by your line. And that seems a lot... It seems like a much better idea to me than to put these flags everywhere. I can understand how you can try and control the game by putting the flags down, try and control advances on certain lines. But generally I think it's dumb and restrictive. An 81mm mortar here, and that's going to aim for the 50mm. Presumably that'll kill it. Because this has a radio and this has a radio, which means that this is actually going to be really accurate. Or at least more accurate than it would otherwise be. So you see that artillery in this game is quite a bit better. 81mm in, well, the 82mm in one, I don't really do that. Although that thing has survived. And yeah, these guys do manage to sort of unload while the vehicle's still moving. I do believe you get a bonus from being on high ground, but don't quote me on that. And over here, Blue is sort of stalled out a bit. And these M8 Scots assault guns, pretty effective against infantry and anti-tank crews, which is why they're all shooting at this to try and suppress it down. It'll probably work. There are two 45mm here, but they've not been brought up. I don't know if that's on purpose. Over here, Blue definitely has supremacy in terms of numbers, and he's using the mortar to suppress the peoples. But it seems that the micro burden is over here. Both sides still 12-12 for now. And I think they're in A phase, but it doesn't actually tell us. But yeah, you see that, you know, once one team sort of gets up here, it's very difficult for the other team to reinforce. So this is a jumbo. It's some sort of Sherman variant. I'm not sure what makes it jumbo. I guess because they've put extra armor on the front. It seems to have a lot of armor for a tank. Yeah, it's classed as a heavy tank. This SC-152 doesn't actually have AP rounds, so it won't be able to kill this. But this, with its 90mm pen, will be able to kill this. So, yeah, but this has 2,000 meters range, and you see that it really upsets people when it hits them. So over here, I think Mr. Ghosty is doing a lot better with his M8 Scott spam. These guys are able to basically kill anything that's not a tank, right? And this thing can't shoot back. Gotta watch the line of sight here. It's not immediately obvious that there's a hill there, so you see that Mr. Jumbo can't actually shoot down that hill. Can't actually see that. He knows about it because it domed one of his guys. And we got some more corrected fire here with the mortars. So Red's managed to take this. He's up to a small flag point lead, which means that the game will end in 32 minutes if it continues in this way. And Blue has more forces here, but has been unable to capitalize on that. And, you know, Mr. Ghosty's cleaning up here as well. Yeah, interesting. So SteppeKnight buys another anti-infantry device. And I do wonder how he's going to deal with these Scots. Because, I see he's got two PTRS-41 sat in base here. But yeah, this is, I believe both of these guys are in, like, the top division, in Steel Division 2, in the pro scene. Not 100% sure, like I said, Razman's a bit better than Mr. Ghosty at Wargame, but apparently it's Steel Division 2, you know, Razman doesn't play, so... So, Mr. Ghosty has the edge there. And, yeah, so that Jumbo alleged heavy tank kills off that thing. Don't really see this going particularly well for SteppeKnight. I mean, now he's bought some artillery, but how does he intend to kill the tanks? Yeah, so you see that with the HE shells, you can still inflict crits and stuff. I think that was an attack position, but I cannot hold shift to check. It doesn't actually tell me. I think he is attack positioning that. Yeah, I think he is. But it's not going to kill it, because that's HE, and that's a tank. And eventually these SUs will die to these tanks. Like, look at that. 76.2, 75. What? Right, so this is a Sherman. This is a Sherman. I've never heard of a Jumbo before. I mean, it strikes me as just another Sherman variant, but it's strange that the gun is different. But yeah, when the crew gets knocked out, you cannot view the stats anymore. But you see that these tanks are good against assault guns, which can't shoot back. Yeah, Mr. Ghosty takes another flag. Well, he's about to try to. I guess this T-34 can kill both of these. This Greyhound might be able to shoot it if it gets close enough, but presumably this PTRS-41 can stop that. Once this infantry gets up here, though, I'm not sure what the counter is. And now he's bought it's a howitzer with AT capability, it seems, because it's got heat shells, and the heat shells can pen 160mm of armor, but this has 190mm. I think it's shooting at the front, at the side armor, though. I'm not entirely sure. That one's probably gonna miss, yeah. And great, so he's actually got a tank here, and the T-34-85 is actually pretty good. It's got quite high pen, max range gun. The max range in this game is 2,000 meters on these guns. Because yeah, this guy is getting pinned, and then, you know, then this flag will be seized as well once he dies. Over here, SteppeKnight. I keep calling him Steppenwolf. My bad. He's trying to push his advantage, but here comes some more, you know, cheap tank spam to stop that. And yeah, in churches you see further in this game, even if the LOS tool is bugged and just says that he shouldn't be able to see any of this, even though it's all shooting at him. Really good game, Steel Division 2. And yeah, you see the thing with these half tracks is that most, well, many squads, I do really think most infantry units don't actually bring AT, and so these guys can be really annoying because you just don't have anything to deal with them, so you need a tank. So these two between them might be able to kill those light tanks and stuff. Gotta watch out for these bazookas. We'll definitely kill the half-tracks. But, yeah, he's on holding fire. Never mind. Changed his mind. This guy's back in the picture. Whoa! Okay. That was exciting. He finally got something with his heat shells. And, yeah, these tanks are going to go to work now, and I guess they've cut the reinforcement here, although this guy manages to sneak through, as does this guy. To be honest, they could do with being a couple meters further forwards. Anti-tank gun being brought up here. These Dozor are very stealthy boys. Presumably, once the anti-tank gun unloads on them, they will be spotted. And yeah, you see that the 76mm anti-tank guns, you get different ammos in this game. So the APCR shell can pen this, and to be honest, so can the other one, 130mm. But the different shells have different ranges. They also have different damages. So the APCR shell does 4 damage. How much health does this tank have? I don't know, because it doesn't tell you anywhere on the unit card. It doesn't tell you how much health it's lost. It doesn't tell you how much health it has. Apparently, medium tanks have 10 HP. And you might say, well, how do you know how much health it's lost? You zoom in on the model, and if you've played the game for 10 trillion hours, you can... Did you see how the model became... it didn't change at all? It didn't change at all. So it lost health and it didn't change at all there. Some guy in the Discord told me that if I zoom in on the model, I know what the HP is. But it looked to me like that didn't change. So maybe it was a miss, although it kind of looked like it hit. But yeah, you know how it is. It's sort of like with Wano, you know, the current patch is bad, but I play it anyway. It's kind of like that with this game, except, you know, these guys have been doing it for a lot longer than me. So, yeah. Mr. Ghosty still winning. He's got more flags. These light tanks, or assault guns, will lose to regular tanks. And it seems that this man has... Yeah, he's run out of his 2k range shells, right? So this guy can shoot, and he can't shoot back. But this one, the T-34 1942 version, has less range than a T-34 1944 version. And that's because it's got a different gun on it. So, yeah, over on this side, you kind of see what I was talking about with these guys just shutting down everything. Surprised this hasn't been brought up to shoot that. Although, who knows, with its APCR shells, it could get 2 hits and do 16 damage, which would kill this. Unless the shots bounce, so you see that bounce there. If you have sloped front armor, you get additional RNG, the chance for shots to bounce off you. Quite surprised that he's choosing to turn to show side armor to this tank. So I'm just nailing it. Yeah, so that wasn't great. He lost that tank to a much cheaper tank because he showed that side armor there. And these assault guns can be very useful at killing anti-tank guns and stuff, or, you know, small teams like that. Over here, still sort of not much happening. The artillery is trying to suppress. This is... Oh, I see. So he's using this as a tank destroyer. But he... that was odd. I guess it has a long deceleration time. And now you see that these anti-tank guns can still shoot the transports, which get unloaded and then vanish immediately. Anti-tank rifles are not very useful against tank front armor, generally. So that's not going to work out. But yeah, we got mortar fire over here, and these guys have radios, and this has a radio, so that gives corrected shot. Like in Wano, with Recon giving corrected shot, in this game it's about radios, and it only gives corrected shots to artillery pieces with radios. So you see these guys have radios. There was one on... Yeah, so like this mortar does not have a radio, so it would not benefit from Recon with radios providing targeting information, because they can't receive communications because they don't have a radio. So you might say, well, how are they shooting at all? How do they know where to shoot? Well, come on, bro, it's a video game. Don't think about it too much. Yeah, so this guy's attack positioning that again. He's wearing him down. And these, oh yeah, I remember this. So there's like a smart order in this game called defensive fire. And if you put it on an area, the unit will automatically kill enemy units. What? So that's a bailed out crit there. The crew has been killed and now nothing can be done. It's just going to sit there and die, although this has run out of APCR shells. If you get a supply to it, you can repair it, but supply in this game, there's even less of it than in the other game, than in Wano. Here we go, so Mr. Ghosty is now pushing over here. And you see the thing with the infantry AT, right? There's just not a whole lot of infantry AT. You couldn't do this in Wano because every one of these squads would have a rocket launcher and they just blow all this up. But in this game, you can do this, and you see how the half-tracks are sort of the Steel Division equivalent of the M113A3 in that you can blob them up with a bunch of other things, 1 or 2 tanks. I was going to say a bit of AA, but there's not a whole lot of AA going on here. Not a whole lot of plane action in this game. Maybe they don't have plane divisions. I don't know. But yeah, you see how successful this push is, and now he's burst through to these AA pieces here. It's not looking great for SteppeKnight. Like over here, he's been trying to get back in the game, but it just takes so long for him to clear stuff out. And yeah, meanwhile his left, our right, is collapsing. There's Su-76, it brings AT, brings APCR shells, and AP shells, but by itself, it's not going to be able to kill the huge blob of Shermans and cheap tanks and half-tracks. So that's a pretty cool push. And this game's looking very over. So yeah, if you want to join these games, it was called SteppeKnight. If you want to join these games, the SDL tourney Discord is linked in the description, and you can sign up for these tournament games. Not sure what's going on with these players. I thought they were, you know, similar rank. I guess SteppeKnight's just having a bad day. And of course, Mr. Ghosty is the best Steel Division 2 player in the known universe. But yeah, what can I say? It's a video game. There's definitely fighting in this video game. It moves a lot faster than Wano Mortier patch, that's for sure. And I hope you got you know, a better understanding of how Steel Division 2 works from watching people that can actually play the game instead of watching me, because I don't really know what I'm doing. But yeah, you know, have a nice day if you want. I don't really care.